ladies and gentlemen. This is the Right Guys podcast. Oh, by the way, Trump's kicking ass and he's still taking names. And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Happy Friday. My name is Max McGuire here with Mr. Producer Josh Hammerling. Lots to talk about, so we'll get right into it. Today's the March for Life going on in Washington, D.C. Tens of thousands of pro-life marchers are there marching on behalf of the unborn. J.D. Vance made his first public appearance there today. Donald Trump sent a video message. Couldn't be there in person because he is touring storm damage in North Carolina and now on his way to California as his first presidential trip. Lots of interesting stuff going on today in North Carolina with Donald Trump asking what was going on with those FEMA officials refusing to give aid to people with Trump flags or Trump signs on their property. What was going on with FEMA kicking people out of temporary housing and into frigid, below freezing temperatures? And then we also got Donald Trump asking what's going on with Adam Schiff. Looks like he was beaten with a baseball bat.
Senator Schiff to join you on this trip, and he was too busy. Are you disappointed?
I don't know. I was told that Schiff was going to travel with us to California. I wasn't thrilled, to be honest with you. And I saw him last night on television. It looks like he got hit with a baseball bat or something. What happened to him? Something happened to him. It looked like he got hit. It looked like he got beat around. But I'll ask Caroline to find out what happened to him. No, if he wanted to come out.
We're just so back. We're so back. And Trump has these ways of mentioning something that then you got to try and look and figure out what is he talking about. And yeah, Adam Schiff kind of does look like he was beaten with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
He's got some bruises on his head.
Yeah.
I thought sure what's going on.
When I saw that, I'm like, did he get into a fight with like a bear or something? I mean, or he said it was something like a fall, right? We had a simple fall, and that's what happens. So I'm like, so at your age, you're already falling, huh? Is that what you're telling me? Or
listen, people fall. But it's just funny. Trump has these ways of finding things that the media seem to not really mention. Yeah, what's going on with him? Looks like he was beaten with a bat. So we'll see.
Maybe he was.
I think they're mentioning, why isn't Adam Schiff coming with you? Someone had invited Adam Schiff today, and if this is why, this is 3D chess, 4-dimensional chess, whatever dimension we're in chess now for Trump. Today is the Pete Hegseth vote. So if you could bring Adam Schiff to California to survey wildfire damage with Trump, that would make it easier for them to push all these nominations that they're confirmations that they're voting on today. So Schiff said he's too busy. Likely because of that, because he has to be there to vote no. But it looks like someone in Trump's orbit was smart enough to try and get Adam Schiff, and I guess that's the price you pay. Trump would have to sit on a plane with Adam Pencil Neck Schiff and sit with him in California. But that, to me, would be the play, because there's no other reason why you would ever invite Adam Schiff with Donald Trump to North Carolina and then to California. So that's happening tonight. That's going to happen late tonight.
Total power move. Total power.
You gotta get your whiskey, your scotch, whatever ready. You gotta get your cigar ready, because Hegseth confirmation tonight. The whip count right now suggests it's 51 without J.D. Vance. There's some rumblings that Fetterman might end up voting yes, though they're trying to release more of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, did you see the latest one?
On Hegseth?
Hegseth's sister-in-law, ex-sister-in-law, says that he was abusive towards his ex-wife. And the way the media is presenting this, people are assuming that the ex-sister-in-law was the sister of the ex-wife. That's not the case. The ex-sister-in-law was married to Hegseth's brother.
Okay.
So it's not even like, if it was a sister relationship, then you'd be, oh, well, she obviously knows because they would confide in each other, right? But that is a very different deal, to be the ex-wife of Hegseth's brother, not related by blood. You know what I mean? So, like, that's a big deal.
They got nothing else. They're desperately trying to make sure he doesn't get confirmed, but it's going to happen.
And of course, the ex-wife comes out and says, that's not true. Not true.
Well, that's kind of it's a head scratcher why they would say such a thing. Like, right before his Senate confirmation for Zach death, right?
And it makes you wonder if this ex-sister-in-law is coming out just because she thinks it's the right thing to do. Why is she represented by Democrat Party connected law firms?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
That's always so
why is
strange,
that
isn't it?
necessary? So they're trying to push this in to try and derail Hegseth. And this is how you know it's actually a really good nomination. They wouldn't be fighting this hard if he wasn't going to do some really good work. They're like, oh, he's not up to the job. Then you should want him in. The last thing that the Democrats should want is someone who's capable and able to make the reforms and changes that Trump wants to make. They should be ecstatic at the idea of putting someone in there who can't actually handle the job, because it means he's not going to get the agenda across the line. No, they're mad because Hegseth actually can do what Trump's promising to do. So they're trying to derail this. The vote right now, 51. That's with McConnell. McConnell had been kind of wishy-washy, but he did vote to advance it to the final vote, which isn't a guarantee that means he wants to vote for him. But right now it's 51. You lose McConnell, it's 50. J.D. Vance breaks the tie. He's our next Secretary of Defense. Then we're going to have some more nominations next week. A lot of people wondering, how is it possible it's taking this long? Barack Obama, day one, got 7 nominees confirmed.
Wow.
Why is it that Donald Trump, we are here on, day 4?
Yeah.
Why is it that on day 4 he has 2? He has CIA and he has Secretary of State.
Slow it down, and they're pissed that they don't have their people in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have their swamp monsters in there, right?
They're just pissed. There's no reason why Donald Trump can't have a Secretary of Agriculture. There's no reason for it.
Yeah.
It's not a controversial pick. You can confirm this guy. In fact, Barack Obama got his Secretary of Agriculture on day 1 in 2008. So you start wondering why. Why is it that, I'm going to pull it up on Twitter. Why is it that they are denying Donald Trump a agriculture secretary? And that's because they're trying to pin on him food prices. So eggs,
convenient.
I don't know if you saw the price of
Oh
eggs.
my God, I have.
Time, like a relative high.
Yeah.
Right? And they're trying to pin that on Trump. Like, oh yeah, Trump, eggs are up. Eggs are up. Well, here's a little information. Between when an egg is laid and it gets to the grocery store, that's 4 to 7 days. So these are Biden eggs. Like, these are eggs that were laid under the Biden administration. The pricing is based on avian flu, which the Biden administration failed to tackle. Failed to adequately fix. Even if Donald Trump signed an executive order saying out of his own pocket he's going to pay to replace every single egg-laying hen that died from avian flu, it would still be, I want to say, like over 12, 14 weeks until they'd start laying eggs. I think as high as 18 weeks until they start laying eggs. So even if he personally bought all of the hens, right?
There's no way.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It'd still take 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 weeks.
I mean, this is still a Biden economy we're under. This is still all the Biden inflation that's affecting those prices. This is still all the avian flu that's affecting it, right? I mean, these are the pains that were left behind by Joe Biden, and they have to find a way to try to pin it on Trump. Otherwise, they've got to take, accountability for it, and they're not going to do that. Like, that's never going to happen again.
No.
Right?
And so it is very interesting that the people blaming Donald Trump for the price of eggs that were laid under Biden administration, they're the same ones slow walking Donald Trump's Secretary of Agriculture.
Sure. Why
who
not?
would actually have the ability to marshal the resources to try and address food pricing. But no, they'd much rather blame Trump. Remember, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. They've already spent $10, $20 million on an ad campaign blaming Donald Trump for rising food prices. That money's already spent. Those ads have already gone to the networks. They're getting ready to launch them.
Yeah.
Why would they ever fast track Trump nominees that could bring down the cost of food, right? I mean, this is how much the Democrat Party hates the American people. They're playing political games with Donald Trump's nominees, and then blaming him for the Biden economic reality that's still in place because he can't get any of his people in there.
Just fantastic positioning by him, too. I mean, they're experts at creating a boogeyman in everything. Like I've
Yeah.
never seen anybody. You talk about state level sponsored, operations. They're incredible. Democrats can turn anything into something their opponents have done. But the people see through it now, right? I mean, at least they're seeing through half of it.
Yeah.
You know, they're seeing through half of it.
So we'll have to see. I mean, Hegsted's going to be a big test tonight. If McConnell was to drop, you're at 50-50. That takes a J.D. Vance breaking the tie. Any other Republican flipping, and he doesn't get confirmed, unless you were to grab someone like Fetterman, which I don't know. I mean, there are rumors that Fetterman's going to switch to Republican Party. There are rumors. I don't know if I want him.
Yeah.
but
But
there are
if
rumors.
he can sway some votes.
Yeah. Yeah, there are rumors. Oh, he's not going to sway anyone. Remember, he still has brain damage.
Yeah. I know
He's so
that. I
brain
mean,
damaged.
he's still not.
He's so brain damaged. He showed up to the inauguration wearing a sweatshirt and gym shorts. Like, come on. Though he is a really big, awkwardly sized fellow.
Yeah.
So he might just be really expensive to tailor. I don't know. So we got that going on. Did you also see there's a fight on the J6 pardons happening in court right now?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. So Stuart Rhodes, he's the guy with the eye patch.
Mm-hmm.
Remember him?
Yeah, the one that
I
was
think
in the
his eye patch is
streets.
off. But he was pardoned. I'm sorry, his sentence was commuted. And then what did he do on his first day? He went back to the Capitol. So I mean, like, I guess your sentence is commuted. Now he went peacefully, just to hold court, just to get a photo op. I guess when your sentence gets commuted, you can go wherever you want. The judge has decided no. This morning, he signed an order barring Stuart Rhodes from going to the Capitol. Here's the order. Let me read it.
Under what pretext?
The court hereby amends the condition for supervised release for defendants Stuart Rhodes, Kelly Meigs, Kenneth Harrelson, Jessica Watkins, Robert Minuta, Edward Vallejo, David Merkel, and Joseph Hackett to include the following conditions. You must not knowingly enter the District of Columbia without first obtaining the permission of the court. You must not knowingly enter the United States Capitol building or any surrounding grounds. And they give the streets that are going to be the boundary without first obtaining the permission, effective today with no end date. Now, if you're looking at this, you're wondering, okay, how does this work? Because Donald Trump didn't grant parole. If Donald Trump had granted these people parole, then they would be subject to supervised release. They'd have to go to a parole officer, right? They have a parole officer checking up on them. That's not what happened. Donald Trump commuted their sentences. He pardoned everyone else, commuted these people's sentences. And commuted a sentence means the sentence is done.
Yeah.
There's no supervised release after a commutation. But this judge is just inventing this out of whole cloth. Say, okay, your sentences have been commuted. You're released out of prison. But guess what? You still can't go into the nation's capital.
Yeah, which the First Amendment is sitting right there in the face. If I want to go peacefully assemble at the nation's capital, it is my God-given right to do it. Like, at what point? I mean, talk about lawfare. I mean, this shows you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Yeah, so they think they can still try to sit there and boss them around even after they're done. Talk about being like a bully. Man, that's a dick move.
Here's the statement. Here's the statement that was released from the acting U.S. attorney in the District of Columbia. This is how you know the Trump 2.0 administration knows what they're doing. They have the right acting people in these positions, not Biden and Obama holdovers sabotaging. This is what he released today. This is Edward Martin, U.S. Attorney for District of Columbia. If a judge decided that Jim Biden, General Mark Milley, or another individual were forbidden to visit America's capital, even after receiving a last-minute preemptive pardon from the former president, I believe most Americans would object. The individuals referenced in our motion have had their sentences commuted. Period. End of sentence. That end of sentence is like a double entendre.
Yeah.
It means the end of the sentence he just said, but also the end of their sentence. And here is what the DOJ just petitioned for the court. As the court is aware, an executive order issued on January 20th, granting pardons and commutation of sentences for certain offenses related to the events at or near the United States Capitol. yada, yada, yada. This proclamation included the above listed defendants in the list of defendants whose sentences had been commuted. The executive branch, quote, the executive branch has exclusive authority and absolute discretion to decide whether to prosecute a case, end quote, and they cite it. The court entered an order dated January 24th, this morning. The defendants, however, are no longer subject to the terms of supervised release and probation as the executive order, quote, commuted the sentences of these defendants. As the terms of supervised release and probation are included in the sentences of the defendants, the court may not modify the terms of supervised release. The term is no longer active by effect of the executive order.
Wow.
Going. The Supreme Court acknowledged, quote, that an accused final sentence includes any supervised release sentence he may receive, and therefore, quote, supervised release punishments arise from and are treated as part of the penalty for the initial offense, end quote. This is literally settled constitutional law. And then he says the United States hereby indicates that the order must be vacated. It's not a request. It must be vacated.
Yeah.
This is quite literally settled constitutional law.
Doesn't matter.
The probation and parole and supervised release, that's part of the sentence. The sentence is how the government can punish you for a crime you have been convicted of, right? So that would also apply to fines. If he had outstanding fines, like imagine if Donald Trump commuted the sentence, okay, you're out of prison, but guess what? You still have to pay the fines. So we're going to throw you in jail until you pay the fines. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's all part of the sentence. So whether or not you agree, I think that the sedition charges against these people were crazy. Like they left their guns in Virginia, but the way the court treated them, they treated them like they brought them into D.C. It was crazy. It was out of control. But this is an out of control judge. This is what happens when judges are forced to face the music a little bit. This is one of the judges that put these people behind bars.
Yeah.
And he is actively resisting and defying presidential pardon power.
It's lawfare. I mean, it continues, right? We're always saying equal justice under the law, right? Equal contact, equal treatment. And the lawfare continues. And it's going to continue for 4 years, 8 years. Like, at what point does this stop by these judges, man? I mean, why constantly try to undermine the American people and their constitutional rights? I just don't understand why they want to do it.
This is where
it befuddles me.
If you really wanted to go after this judge, you could. You could charge the judge with deprivation of rights under color of law. This judge acts like he has the authority, but it is very clearly, very obviously settled constitutional law that you can't reimpose and amend the sentence after it's been commuted. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's using his position as a judge to deprive these people of their rights. As I mentioned earlier, today is the March for Life.
Wow.
One of the biggest pro-life rallies in the country. Well, it is the biggest pro-life rally every year in the country.
Yeah.
Today on the original anniversary of Roe versus Wade. His order prohibited all these people from participating in that rally. Now, I don't know if they wanted to go or not, but it still caused real harm. It violated their constitutional rights, their First Amendment rights. And he's doing it he's pretending that he's allowed to. He knows he's not allowed to. This is ends justify the means politics, right? And if you wanted to go after him and you didn't want to deal with the consequences of him now ruling against the administration on everything, you could probably charge him with deprivation of rights under color of law, especially if he resists this motion and refuses to vacate that order.
So is he disbarred for such a thing? I mean, what would the punishment be like? Because then, what if he's not removed and you got this pissed off judge sitting on the circuit court and everything you do, he's just constantly going after you, man.
If this was a Trump judge refusing to toss out the Hunter Biden conviction,
yeah,
and putting Hunter Biden on supervised release, he would get brought up on ethics charges. He would get brought up to the Bar Association, whatever state he's in, right?
Sure.
They'd probably launch impeachment hearings in the House if it was controlled by Democrats. That's how the Democrats play. But with this, we're expected to say, oh, well, obviously he made a mistake. No, he didn't.
No.
He just defied a commutation. These are the same judges that received the pardons the day of and waited until the next day to actually sign off on them, just so that January 6ers could stay in prison one extra day.
Right. And let's not forget, in the closing weeks of Biden's presidency, they cranked out judges,
Yeah.
appellate judges. I mean, they cranked out the number of appellate judges. So this is systemic, right? This isn't just this guy. This is all over the place. And we've got Biden to thank for it.
I would love to see a shot across the bow, holding this guy accountable. At the very least, bring him up on ethics charges. This isn't the kind of thing where like, oh, let's debate what it means. No, this is what it means. If a sentence is commuted, the sentence is commuted. You have no right to, in the words of this guy's order, let's pull it up again, hereby amends the conditions of supervised release. You don't get to amend the sentence after the sentence is commuted. You can't. It's not how it works.
Yeah, it's just like finishing the whole sentence and them saying, "Oh yeah, we're just going to add another 8 years." You know what? We were wrong the first time, right? You've got to see how terrible this is. Like what? And there's so much of this out there. Like, how long are we going to be fighting this? They got to be rooted out, man. They have to be rooted out.
So much of it. And Donald Trump spent a lot of political capital pardoning these people. Yesterday, he pardoned, I believe it was 21 pro-lifers who had been prosecuted by Joe Biden for peacefully sitting and praying and singing in front of abortion clinics. I mean, there was a 75-year-old. I know a couple of these people. Like I've met them. I know Joan Bell. I know her husband, Chris Bell. She's in her 70s. She's a firebrand. I'd love to get her on the podcast talking.
But you said she's going to die in prison if she was to stay.
She's been in and out of prisons most of her adult life doing this stuff. She's a pro-life firebrand. But the idea that you send a 75, 76-year-old to prison for 2 years. Why? Oh, well, they were singing a hymn in front of the door of an abortion facility. And it might have been a little bit more. Someone might have had to walk around them. Someone might have had to leave the sidewalk and walk on the grass to get in the door. Therefore, they're going to prison for 2 years. That's the FACE Act. It's horseshit, right? So Donald Trump spent a lot of political capital going after this. I don't know how much he's going to be able to do because they're trying to use this to tank his approval ratings. I don't think he's going to go back and get another bite at the apple for the Jan Sexers who fell through the cracks and might have other charges. Like we talked about this on the show, the one guy who was released and then immediately picked up on a gun charge. I don't think he's going to get the pardon. Another pardon.
Another one.
The guy who was pardoned for his Jan 6 crimes, but is still going to be facing the charges for having a grenade or a couple grenades in his house. He says he's framed. I don't think Donald Trump's going to go back for a bite at that apple. It's just not worth. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve it, but it would just be a political nightmare. Yeah. To say, oh yeah, by the way, all those pardons I gave out for the people who were fighting cops, this guy had grenades in his house. He gets a pardon too. It's a political non-starter. But there are a lot of people who have been screwed by the system. And I think Donald Trump going into this second term, having experienced the weaponization of the justice system, I think you're going to see him much more willing and likely to intervene where he thinks it's ridiculous and set people free. I mean, he just did it for 2 cops who were driving in a car chase against an illegal alien criminal, and they did something that caused the illegal alien to get hit by another car, and they went to jail for murder. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, it might just be the situation where Donald Trump picks up the newspaper and says, that's bullshit. I'm letting that guy go. It might be. That might be where we're at. But it's definitely good that we have a president who's going to look at those cases. And you can tell he actually cares about them. He's not waiting for people to bring them to his attention.
Which is wild. Which is great in a first. You know, I always knew those Biden pardons were going to come back and bite him in the ass. Because the moment that Trump would start pardoning, you could throw that in their face forever, right? Like, it's just rich, right? But let's not forget, he didn't pardon everybody.
No, he didn't pardon himself.
Pardon everybody.
You see that clip of Donald Trump saying the funny thing is that Joe Biden didn't pardon himself.
Pardon himself, yeah.
And all of the money went through his account. Isn't that funny? So we'll see. Not going to happen until you get Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and some of these other deputy attorney generals that Donald Trump's nominated, they're slow walking the hell out of that.
They have to, because they know heads are going to roll the moment they do. The moment, either of them gets into office or walks into that office, all hell's going to break loose. They probably already have a list of 100 things that they are ready to roll on, right? And of course they're going to slow walk it. Would you want this like a slow creeping death coming after them, right? It's
So
wild.
the way it's supposed to go is it clears committee, it goes to the floor, and then they say unanimous consent to move to the final vote.
Oh.
And if even one senator says, no, I want to debate this, then kind of the wheels grind to a slow halt, and they have to spend 30 hours on each nominee.
At 30 hours, huh? So we could be looking at 3 or 4 weeks to get through just a few people, right?
Yeah. So that's what they could do if they wanted to. Now, if they were to do that, then the Senate could come in and with just 51 votes change the rules, which is what would likely happen if they truly try to deny Donald Trump a cabinet. What they could also do is they could go into recess, giving Donald Trump the ability to put them all in office, and they get to stay there for 2 years. So that might be, even if Pete Hegseth doesn't make it, that might be the route to take. Okay, you don't think he's ready for the job? Well, he's going to get 2 years. House of Representatives recesses because both chambers disagree on how and when to recess. Donald Trump recesses them both under his constitutional authority. Pete Hegseth becomes a recess appointment. He gets 2 years on the job.
Wow.
2 years on the job. And if he wants to go 2 years and a day, he has to be confirmed. And then maybe he has a chance to prove the haters that, no, I can actually do this job. And if they're right, then he's gone.
I want that to hurry and happen. But of course you would want to slow walk your enemies. You just spent 4 years going after everybody, right? The American people for J6. You went after people with health. You went after people with their jobs. You went after Donald Trump for crimes he didn't commit. They tried assassinating him 3 times. Of course you're going to slow walk everything. Like the fear, some of those people in the elite circles must be high at this point. There's a new level of paranoia for him out there.
But here's the thing. By raising your hand and saying, I object, I demand debate, you would expect them then to debate. But what's happening is the Senate's running the clock for those 30 hours, and the Democrats are nowhere to be found. The Democrats aren't sitting in the chamber debating. They're gone. So it's not even a real thing where they want this time to be able to put on the record why they object to it. Right?
They just run out the
They
clock.
just want to slow it down.
Yeah.
They just want to slow it down.
Wow.
And that would give more opportunities for Washington Post, New York Times to dredge up other bullshit against Pete Hegseth and other nominees to try and derail their nominations, their candidacy.
Jeez. Trying to come up with dirt that doesn't exist, right? We found a person who's related to this person who worked with Pete Hegseth at a restaurant that doesn't exist anymore, who might have been sexually assaulted by him, right?
Yeah, I know.
And that's what they're looking for. They're just kind of creating the marketing on how to go after him.
Did you know back in 1999, Pete Hegseth returned his Blockbuster video 3 days late? Did you know that?
Oh my God. I can't confirm. I can't confirm.
That's the shit we're at now. And
Right.
So we'll see. A big confirmation vote tonight. Hopefully, right now, the whip count says that Pete Hegseth is going to get through. Really funny, if you go into like Twitter and you just search Hegseth whip, there's this guy like Joey Hegseth, and every couple of months, he's just posting new whip picture of his car. It's very funny. It's very funny to find the whip vote in Twitter by typing in Hegseth whip, because there's some other Hegseth posting his new whips. And including his old whips, too. He posts his old whips. So that was
Hilarious.
fun. That's tonight. And then we'll have some more confirmations next week as well. And we're not going to rest. We're not going to give up. We're not going to slow down. Trump's not going to slow down. Can't. Too much at stake. Over 500 illegal aliens have already been deported. And, Josh, they are not being put in detention centers. They are already back. Here is a flight to, I believe this is to Guatemala, that just landed in the past 24 hours. So Guatemala receives the migrants deported from the U.S. in Guatemala City. They are flying them by military plane, no chartered planes like Biden did.
No.
No commercial flights. Those are like C-130s or whatever the technical thing for it is. Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Wow.
They are just loading them in. Here you go, Guatemala. Here's your people back. Figure it out. Figure it out. Not just there, also in Mexico. They just turn them around, say, back to Mexico. Adios. Wait for a second.
Hay mucha migra y todos están cayendo.
A lot of migra. That's what they're saying. That's what they call ICE.
Yeah.
Migra, referring to migratory authorities, saying everyone is getting caught. I don't recommend to cross because there's a lot of migra.
He's got his Crocs with him though.
Yeah.
They got back with their Crocs.
So they got back, and I'm sure you saw this one. This is one I believe they picked up in Boston. A Haitian illegal alien, gang member. I think I heard 17 criminal arrests. Here's what he had to say.
Going back to Haiti. Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
He says not going back to Haiti. You heard what he said. And cheering on Biden.
He's going. He's already back.
He's going back. And there's a really funny one. Here's another clip.
Going back to Haiti.
Well, he's wrong. He's going back to Haiti.
But I mean, that's where we're at right now. We're at hanging out of a squad car saying, F Trump, Biden forever. I'm not going back to Haiti. And like, oh, you're very much going back to Haiti.
We're going to drop you up. Oh,
I would love to see, like the countries that they're saying some countries might not take them. Yeah. I'd love to see them put in like an Osprey, right? We're going to fly you to Venezuela in an Osprey. And then the Ospreys are the stuff they fly the plane also turns into a helicopter.
Yeah.
And okay, they won't take you back. They won't let us land. Unfortunately, they won't let us land. So we're going into helicopter mode. Here you're going to rappel out of right? That, or give them parachutes. Like at this point, if you're not going to take your people back, that like you can't just say no, right?
Yeah, they're your people,
and send them to shore.
Yeah,
right. But that's what we're going to start seeing. We're going to start seeing. I don't know if we're going to start seeing parachutes. I would love to see parachutes, though.
Could you imagine, like they push a skiff out and it's got like a giant parachute and 20 of them riding it down to a boat? Like
parachutes can be expensive, so that's the only downside. You have to buy a lot of them. But no, we're seeing now. We're seeing the military now taking. I gotta take Tom Homan off the screen. That's too funny. We're seeing the military now flying illegal aliens back to their home countries. Yeah. Under Biden, they would be put in detention facilities briefly, where they would be given diapers and clothes and a cell phone and a gift card. Then they'd be sent to a hotel where they get the hotel paid on behalf of the American taxpayers, and they get what's called an NTA, a notice to appear. I go through this all in my book, The Conservative's Guide to Winning Every Gun Control Argument. NTA, notice to appear, says, hey, you have a court date. Where are you going? Oh, you're going to Minneapolis? Okay, you have a court date in Minneapolis. We're not going to check up on you. We're not going to follow you.
Yeah.
You have a court date. And by the way, your court date is in 2 years.
Oh.
So just go hang out, and we'll see you in 2 years. Unsurprisingly, the illegal aliens with fraudulent asylum claims don't show up to their asylum hearing because then their asylum hearing becomes a deportation hearing.
Yeah, because there's no asylum.
Yeah. So they just use that as an opportunity to catch and release. They disappear in the interior. Nope. Donald Trump turned them around back to Mexico, onto the C-130, fly them. And those are not comfortable planes to fly in.
No.
Those are bucket seats.
Yeah. But they hold a lot.
Happening.
Yeah. And it's kind of a first. Have you noticed there's jets flying over top today, and there's been a lot of activity in the skies over Colorado. Could you imagine just sitting around now, walking to your local restaurants, hotels, service industry places, and there's like nerves happening, right? Because how many people are here in the country illegally? How many people have been lying about their name, their identity? They're working. And they could have a huge criminal background, right? I mean, this is only 96 hours in. Imagine what this is going to look like in 30 days, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of openings for jobs. I'm going to start there.
And you had I don't know if we talked about it in the last episode, but you had them ICE out in Boston where they were tracking down the criminals that they knew about.
Yeah.
And this is how you know how bad the Biden administration was. They didn't do all that research at the beginning of the morning on Trump's first full day and figure out where these people were. They knew where they were. They just weren't allowed to go get them.
Yeah.
These first ones are the people they know about. They're going to get them. The handcuffs are off. They're going to pick these people up. And in Boston, one of the known illegal alien criminals, they caught him. They also found in the same apartment another illegal alien who had already been deported. Well, he got arrested and picked up as well under Biden.
Wow.
That he would have been released. Okay, well, we don't have permission to get you, so I guess you can stay. Tom Homan says, nope. If you're in the country illegally, you're done. You're out if we find you. I think this is my idea for the game changer. If you want to boost up Trump's approval rating in the black community, the legal Hispanic community, start offering bounties. You know how the FBI and DOJ, they have rewards. This criminal, anyone who gives information that leads to the capture of this criminal gets X amount of money. Could you imagine a $50 reward for turning in an illegal alien in your community? $100 reward. Now, you know how quickly people would take them up on that?
Oh
Even $200 reward.
Yeah.
They have discretionary money for this stuff that they can decide what rewards they put out.
Well, that would change the whole game. Could you imagine?
Yeah, you get the hood ratting out illegal aliens for $100. Well, they'd be doing it all day.
Right? Yeah.
They'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
how many do you want? How many do you want?
Right. There's 9 over here. I know 9 over here.
How many can you fit in the paddy wagon? How much cash you got on you?
Right.
You do that, and I think it causes the chaos you need. I think it leads to the self-deportation, because that's the ultimate goal.
Right.
To make it so uncomfortable for these people that they don't want to just live life on the run. They don't want to be put through deportation. Because remember, if you're deported, there's a timer on how long until you're allowed to come back into the country. People have been deported multiple times, never, right?
Yeah.
So the message is, hey, if you don't have a deportation under your belt, leave, and apply to come in legally, not through a bullshit asylum claim, but apply to come in legally. And then maybe you can. But if you get caught, that avenue is gone to you.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's got to be true consequences for re-entering when you've already done it once and re-entered, right? It's never coming back again, essentially, is what's happening. I mean, everyone thinks this is just. I was watching a lot of CNN today because I've really been interested in how they're kind of spinning the whole thing, right? And they're trying to make it like a human rights sort of argument. You're going after innocent people. They can't fend for themselves, right? And they've really been going after the legal aspects of it today, right? They're saying this is something Trump can't do. He's going to be stopped, and the pundits are agreeing with it. And by the time they realize what's going on and they maybe make some headway, I bet you they have 100,000 already sent back.
Oh, yeah.
With that number growing rapidly.
Do you ever watch To Catch a Predator?
No, I've never watched it. Yeah, I know what it is, though, yeah.
So, for anyone who hasn't ever watched it, Chris Hansen, Dateline NBC, he had this show To Catch a Predator, where he would basically work with police departments, and they would have someone go online and pretend to be an underage girl, basically flirting with 18-plus men, and getting them to come over to her house when her parents weren't home. Again, she's over 18. She just pretends. So that they can catch them and sting. Like, oh, you're coming to this house to have sex with an underage child. You're getting arrested. Very popular show. He's bringing it back. He has new episodes coming out. Yes.
Fantastic.
And he was just on Fox talking about it because a shocking number of the people that he's running into are illegal aliens in the country illegally, showing up to try and have sex with underage girls. Here we go.
Fox News alert, Biden migrants in Boston are getting iced. And Bill Melugin tagged along.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
Let me fast forward. Here we go.
I ain't going back to Haiti. I never wanted to go in the first place.
Yeah, here we go. This
There we
is the
go.
part right here.
Watch.
You gave her $50.
Yeah, no.
What was that for? The $50 was for sexo con chica 15 años.
No, no quería.
Oh.
Her niece was 15, and you said you wanted a from her and were going to pay her $50. Are you here in this country legally? Do you have U.S. citizenship?
Soy ilegal.
But you came here, Marvin, for sexo con chico 15 años.
No.
To go back to Honduras.
No, por favor.
Chris,
As someone who watched this show a lot, because
I'm shocked.
I enjoy watching these creeps get caught. Sometimes it's very fun. They try to run out of the house, and the police are waiting right outside the house.
Yeah.
Right, and they tackle them. It can be good TV. I don't remember an illegal alien component in this back then.
No.
I'm sure maybe there were some.
Sure.
But I don't remember it like this.
Well,
this
you got to
is the
remember.
kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that if they try and shut this down, that's the kind of stuff you bring to the American people and say, listen, we're catching pedophiles. One of the people who were arrested in Boston was arrested and then released by local police for raping a woman with a gun down her throat.
Oh my God.
Putting a gun down her throat and then raping her. And they refused to honor ICE's detention request, and they let him go. And he's in the country illegally. This is the kind of stuff that the American people are sick and tired of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the left is thinking that they can, as you mentioned on CNN, legalize this. Well, technically, the American people are done with technically.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have it. And predators, they flock to the places where they can get what they're after, right? It's amazing how pedophiles will sit there and just find the place to be where they can get this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And to see that shift happen shows you that there are people that have been crossing this border not for the war that's happening in their country, not for the economic depression or the potential death they're facing, because they like to have sex with kids.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's been led over by the Biden administration. This is what Trump has to fight, because Biden spent years letting in animals.
Literally animals.
Yeah.
And no one's saying that every illegal alien is like that. No. But the narrative that the left always brings up is that most illegal aliens aren't diddling kids. It doesn't matter. This is a whole class of people who shouldn't be in the United States at all.
Yeah.
And to say that we just have to accept a non-zero number of illegal alien pedophiles in our communities in order to virtue signal that, oh, we love our migrants. No. If you enforce the law and you don't let people come into the country illegally, those rapists, those pedophiles don't get in. And now there are still going to be creeps and sickos in the United States. That's true. Right.
But at least we're chasing them down.
That's no excuse to add more.
Right. Max, let's not forget, it's just not the pedophilia that comes, right? The southern border is the largest drug trade operation that exists on the planet. There's a sex trade of children over that border. There's weapons that come in to the United States from Mexico, because where the heck are all the cartels getting these fully automatic weapons, right? There's some sponsorship on the other side that when this can of worms starts getting open, people are going to be like, who the heck's been giving weapons to the cartels? How long have they been in the U.S., right? How long have they been operating?
Well, have you seen the New York Times article? I just tried to pull it up. It's behind a paywall now. But the New York Times said that Trump designating cartels as terror groups could, quote, hurt the U.S. economy.
How? No?
That's the question. Well, so the way they say is that the cartels are involved in, like, the avocado trade, right? And so, like, the question is, are you allowed to buy avocados from an avocado farm is owned by the sister of the cartel member, right? Are you allowed to do that, right?
Yeah.
What happens if you're a gun store at the southern border and someone comes in to buy guns? and then they're a cartel and you don't know it. You just supply guns. Now, unknowingly, that's one thing, but there it is conceivable. But the flip side of this is what are you talking about? You don't go easy on terror groups to help the economy. That's like what the U.S. did in Afghanistan, turned a blind eye to the opium trade, right? Because they needed it for the... No, that's not how it works. It's not how it works anymore. But, you know, they are desperate to try and derail all of this.
Are they talking about the underground economy? I mean, there is a black market economy that happens. I didn't think a lot of Americans were living off that. You know what I mean?
What people are suggesting is that, I forget the guy's name. Who's the Mexican guy who's a part owner of New York Times?
I don't know.
He's a billionaire. Mexican billionaire.
He owns the biggest...
Carlos Slim.
Yeah.
So Carlos Slim, no one is saying that he is cartel, but you cannot become a billionaire in Mexico without greasing the palms of at least some cartel. It's not possible. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it a coincidence that he's now a part owner in this newspaper that just defended the businesses who are cartel adjacent?
Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
Yeah, right?
Construction companies, like...
Then it stops being like, oh, New York Times, what a silly argument to make. Then it becomes they're trying to defend their owner, who is a billionaire with cartel adjacent or cartel implicated businesses, allegedly.
Wow. Sure. Like where would the tentacles be, if any existed, right? And then who's benefiting from it? Because oh my gosh, man, the border's going to get real. It already is. And don't we have Marines on the border now? Like for the first time, actually protecting the United States borders ever, really, since ever. Like maybe the Mexican-American War, you know?
Does the cartel bribe politicians?
It's a complex answer.
Does the cartel bribe American politicians? They might have fixed it. They fixed it. Well, this one, politicians, it's a complicated, complex, and multifaceted. When you ask them about American politicians, then they say it's speculation, unconfirmed allegation, nuance. Look, see how it's different.
Yeah.
It had a different answer earlier, so I guess they tweaked it. Twitter tweaked it because it was like, yes, there is evidence that they've bribed politicians. The minute you make it American politicians, it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Like so, are they directly funding terrorism?
Does anyone think that this bribery stops at the southern border?
No.
Of course not.
No.
Of course not.
There's worldwide implications for this stuff.
Here's a question. Do you think that bribery could reach federal district court?
Oh, if this was a movie and it was a narrative?
Oh,
yeah. The answer is yes. The answer would be you couldn't write that kind of narrative. Things that might actually be happening.
We know in Mexico, judges have been bribed.
Yeah.
The way it goes is they find leverage over a judge, threaten their family, right? Threaten to out them for something, give them money to basically make them complicit, and then demand that they do what they tell them to do. Makes you wonder about federal judges now if they were to come out and shut down Trump's border orders. It's just a different layer to it. I'm not saying that federal judges are bribed or whatever, but I think it'd be really dumb to assume that they couldn't be.
Well, here's the big difference is that in the last administration, this would still be ignored and probably continue to grow if it exists. Now it's a day where people are starting to pay attention, right? And that's why they're not allowing Kash Patel to get confirmed, right? They don't, Could you imagine what the FBI is going to start looking into?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's their fear. What's on the radar?
On Thursday.
Like, they need to get him in there. The FBI needs to start right now. Right now.
I also didn't know his full name. Do you know his full name?
I saw it once.
It's very long.
Kashatai?
Kashyap Pramod Patel.
That's why he goes with cash. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Can't say he's a white supremacist.
No, right? I want him to hurry and get to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But they're delaying.
Get to work.
His hearing is the 30th. I assume they're going to try and vote him out of committee. Well, they usually have 2 days. They have that day, and then they have the next day where people come in and speak on his behalf, and then the other side's allowed one person to come in and speak against him, which I always found crazy.
Yeah.
And then they'll vote it out of committee, and then at the very best, it'll be 30 hours later, because I doubt the Democrats are going to fast track that.
Yeah.
And now the worry, though, is what if something happens between now and then? What if something happens and then you have Democrats slow walking the FBI director and the attorney general? God forbid there's an attack or some kind of terrorist attack or mass shooting or something in the United States, and we didn't have the people in place to actually respond to it. Then it's going to get really messy for Democrats. It's a really precarious game they're playing, betting that won't happen.
Do you remember the rumors in the 80s that the CIA was involved with the drug trade? And there was a couple kernels of truth to it, right? Has that been going on?
That was what Iran-Contra was all about.
So the CIA has been involved with the drug trade for a long time. So would it be uncommon for them to work with people in Mexico, Argentina, Venezuela?
Where do you think they got the LSD for all those tests that they performed on people, right? Where do you think they got that? Of course they're involved in the drug trade.
So, like this idea that the bribes could extend all the way into the very intelligence apparatus that exists in the United States is a real possibility when you start looking at those. You know what I mean?
How do you bust a cartel bribe? You drop a JDAM on their house. I mean, the bribe and the threat stop working when you literally go to war with the cartel.
Yeah.
Bribes don't start a war. So I think it's more likely than not we start seeing that. We start seeing very, very. I don't think dropping like cluster bombs or mother of all bombs, Moabs. Can you imagine a Moab being
going off and like
on a cartel facility and just everything's just gone?
Yeah, it just kind of vaporizes the whole facility.
Yeah.
Could you? Yeah.
A fireball so big it sucks the air out of anyone's lungs. Anyone whose mouth is open.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've never had that before. And I think it's possible we start getting this. Maybe not that, but definitely targeted strikes. Like we said the last time, maybe the Paw Patrol and some robots.
Right. Oh, did you see that they did the whole JFK, RFK, MLK release of the information? That one, I got a feeling that's, I've heard a lot of people talk about this. I don't think you're going to see any sort of grand conspiracy come out of it. Like, the CIA was involved with the murder, yada, yada, yada. What I think you're going to see is a bunch of embarrassing files on JFK for sure.
Oh,
maybe even MLK.
Martin Luther King for sure. They were tapping his phone. They were trying to they were spying on him while he's cheating on his wife, trying to get him to cheat on with more people to get compromise on him. Oh, there's going to be bad. I wish Donald Trump would have told us what's in the files. This whole thing of like, release it, let everyone see. Okay, tell us what's in it. Nope, you'll wait. That to me has been weird. And I'm still waiting to hear about the drones. He said he wanted to tell everyone about the drones.
Yeah.
I don't like that we haven't heard about the drones yet.
That's really making me nervous. Like, of all of them, because they put on drone defense on the Beast. Remember when you sent me that text, because they were going to be outside. And it's like, well, they're certainly responding to this sort of drone thing. But, some of the drone footage I'm watching now, they're like, it looks like a plane. It looks like a sphere. It looks like this. And like not changing shapes, but they certainly are changing the way they appear. I mean, it could just be like an LED screen in the sky. Like the implications are crazy.
The anti-drone tech that they have on the Beast and on the Trail and the lead car are tremendous. They are broadcasting on, I believe, like every possible radio frequency. They are messing everything up so nothing gets in or out. Right? They are flooding the zone with all these different radio waves and sound waves and whatever, so that you can't actually get a call through. So like if you put a bomb underneath a manhole cover and it had a remote detonation, the minute that the lead car, the car right in front of the beast, goes over it, you cannot detonate that bomb anymore. At least not through like any kind of radio detonator.
Yeah, at least the beans that.
Yeah.
Really.
So
wow.
It's so bad. If you ever watch, you ever watch when there's a parade or something with Trump, you'll notice that there is a lead car with a camera on it, and you'll notice just how bad that footage is, because it's struggling to get radio signal back to kind of beam the footage back to wherever it needs to go. It's very grainy, very pixelated because of that.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
It's just wild, man. And there's still a lot of things to happen. But again, we're only, how many days in, and we're complaining. We're 4 days into this, and we're like, hey, man, you got to hurry and give us the drone thing. I think that should have been day one, because that's got our attention.
He said, figure it out and tell us about it. Listen, it's day 4 for us. What day is it for North Carolina? We can end it on this. He's out in North Carolina meeting with people. He just signed an executive order to get rid of all of the red tape for rebuilding roads.
About time.
How dare the Biden administration, Joe Biden himself, not do that? This was months ago. And they don't have roads because of red tape?
Right. Build the damn roads.
What the hell?
Well, they got kicked out of those Amish houses because they didn't meet code.
Yeah.
People were warm and alive inside. The Amish sacrificed their time, effort, and stuff to do it. Yeah. Just unbelievable.
FEMA said, here's your temporary housing. Your temporary housing is up. Sorry, tomorrow's Christmas Eve. Go out in the cold. Figure it out. I mean, this is the Biden administration we're talking about. There's gonna be a lot of changes. A lot of winning. Trump's on his way to California. I'm sure he's probably there right now as we speak. His new threat, if you want disaster aid, California, you need to fix your water and you need voter ID.
Yeah.
He's just piling it on.
Then off to Hawaii to fix that one. Those were all under Biden. There were 3 major disasters under Biden. And you know how he handled them? By making sure people didn't have homes.
And I still don't understand how, and I'm sure there's a reason for it. I still understand how an entire neighborhood can burn down, but all of the trees around the neighborhood are untouched. That to me has always been a little weird. I see some of these aerial photographs of the entire neighborhood's gone in California, but all the trees are still there. With green leaves, green pine needles.
I don't know.
We'll say it's one of life's mysteries. I guess we'll leave it at that. Well, that's it for this edition of the podcast. If you like the podcast, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, give us a follow. Follow, share the podcast. We're available on YouTube, Rumble, and X Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So tune in for that. We also have the audio edition of the podcast. That's available on pretty much everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Audible, all great places. Follow it there. Subscribe to it. Listen. You can listen while you're doing chores, during your commute. We try and make this as audio-friendly as possible. That's it for this edition. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
Remember, the fight to take back the country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together. See you next time.